As far back as the Bronze Age, maybe earlier, people have regarded water as one of the prime sources of life and a powerful barrier against evil. Water can also create chaos, and it has the power to destroy. The United Kingdom's intricate network of inland waterways, both natural and man-made, haven't escaped these beliefs. A beautiful river, shimmering in the sunlight and full of fish, may have dark depths where old gods dwell, demanding their annual quota of victims. A calm canal, carrying flower-bedecked barges, might hide horrible tales of despair and death. Its cuttings and embankments home to ghosts, goblins, and maybe even gorillas. Join me in the heart of England as I dive into the depths of the Shropshire Union Canal, affectionately known as the Shroppie, and journey along 66 miles of the canal that's reputed to be one of the most haunted waterways in Britain. We'll set off from Ellesmere Port in Cheshire, where the spectral presence of a dead night watchman lurks in the boat museum. This building was once a bustling canal warehouse, and it's not just spirits that haunt this place. We might also catch the ghostly scents of creosote and soap. Underway and heading south, our boat will travel through the Ellesmere Tunnel. During the winter months, the figure of a woman can be seen silently falling into the water without causing so much as a ripple. Some reports say that she is the ghost of a girl whose unidentified body was pulled out of the canal and buried in an unmarked grave. Did she jump, or was she pushed? As we steer towards Chester, the waterway will carry us through part of the city wall where, still on duty, a spectral Roman soldier sometimes walks alongside the canal, forever patrolling the battlements that once stood here. Further south, we'll pass Ellesmere Lock, where a boater who moored up for the night in the 1990s was woken by the loud noise of galloping hooves. They saw no animal, no horse or rider, and whatever caused the sound simply vanished, leaving no trace on the towpath. Our journey then takes us under Burrows Bridge, number 85, which we now know is close to the Hack Green secret nuclear bunker, a Cold War site with an apparently sinister atmosphere and numerous reported hauntings. These include apparitions of men in uniform and visitors being prodded and pushed by unseen hands. Leaving that site behind, we'll cruise to Adderley Lock's bridge number 66, where we might see a figure dressed in the old-fashioned clothes of a clergyman. This ghost walks along the towpath, seemingly muttering to himself without making any discernible sound. Further towards Market Drayton, at Betton Cutting, we may notice an uneasy atmosphere. Not surprising, as this is the site of a number of fatal accidents that occurred when the canal was being constructed. The screams of one poor navvy, crushed to death by a truck filled with rubble, can still be heard, while a figure is often seen walking along the towpath before melting into the air. But it is at High Bridge number 39 that we'll ease off the throttle and keep lookout for the most famous phantom on the Shroppie, the terrifying, black-haired, glowing-eyed man-monkey. The best description of an encounter with this primate-like cryptid is given in an 1883 book by Charlotte S. Byrne and Georgina F. Jackson, called Shropshire Folklore, A Sheaf of Gleanings, which I quote now. On the 21st of January 1879, a labouring man was employed to take a cart of luggage from Ranton in Staffordshire to Woodcote, beyond Newport in Shropshire. He was late coming back. His horse was tired and could only crawl along at a foot's pace, so that it was 10 o'clock at night when he arrived at the place where the high road crosses the Birmingham and Liverpool Canal. Just before he reached the canal bridge, a strange black creature with great white eyes sprang out of the plantation by the roadside and alighted on his horse's back. He tried to push it off with his whip, but to his horror, the whip went through the thing, and he dropped it to the ground in his fright. The poor tired horse broke into a canter and rushed onward at full speed with the ghost still clinging to its back. How the creature at length vanished, the man hardly knew. He told his tale in the village of Woodwose, a mile further on, and so effectually frightened the hearers that one man stayed with his friends there all night, rather than cross the terrible bridge that lay between him and his home. The ghost seer reached home at length, still in a state of excessive terror, and it was some days before he was able to leave his bed, so much was he prostrated by his fright. The whip was searched for next day and found just at the place where he said he had dropped it. Now comes the curious part of the story. The adventure, as was natural, was much talked of in the neighbourhood, and of course with all sorts of variations. Some days later, the man's master was surprised by a visit from a policeman who came to request him to give information of his having been stopped and robbed on the big bridge on the night of the 21st of January. The man, much amused, denied having been robbed either on the canal bridge or anywhere else, and told the policeman the story just related. "Oh, was that all, sir?" said the disappointed policeman. "Oh, I know what that was. That was the man-monkey, sir, as does come again at that bridge ever since the man was drowned in the cut." So is this frightening apparition the ghost of a man who drowned in the canal, as the policeman claimed? Or, as is often the case made against cryptid sightings, could it have been a real-life monkey or gorilla escaped from a zoo or circus? Newspaper reports from December 1878 tell of excitement in Madeley Wood, caused by a gorilla escaping from a wild beast menagerie travelling to Bridgnorth, and seen on separate occasions by a clergyman and a policeman. If we look at our map, Madeley Wood isn't too far from Bridge 39, and if we consider the dates, December 1878 is just a few weeks earlier than the man-monkey story recounted by Charlotte Byrne in her book. But does this really provide an explanation? Judging by the offhand response of the policeman in 1879, the man-monkey was a well-known and regularly seen phantom which can't be explained away by a freshly escaped gorilla. And given that a huge, black, hairy monkey was seen by a man travelling under Bridge 39 on a canal holiday as recently as the 1980s, it feels like there's something spookier happening here. Let's return to our map, because not too far from our mooring by Bridge 39 lies Cannock Chase, a forest and heathland area of outstanding natural beauty that is said to be haunted and home to cryptids. I knew that there had been sightings of black dogs, werewolves, and even panthers here, but it turns out that there have also been reports of a Woodwose, or British Bigfoot, on the chase. In fact, when the story appeared in the press again in 2003, the BBC sent weatherman Ian McCaskill to Cannock Chase to report on the 8-foot-tall Yeti spotted in the area. Woodwose is another name for a wild man, an immensely strong, primitive subhuman who is covered in shaggy hair and lives in forests. One of these creatures appears in an 1867 sensationalist story called The Woodwose of Cannock Chase, and a hairy, ape-like cryptid could certainly be responsible for the 1878 gorilla sightings and 1879 encounter at Bridge 39. Could we go further and suggest that some of the werewolf sightings on the chase are really people spotting a British Bigfoot, and that his territory extends as far as Madeley Wood? Or is the creature seen on Bridge 39 a more classic haunting, the spirit of a drowned man cursed to take on a monstrous form at the site of his unhappy death? Or maybe even the ghost of a long-dead prehistoric ancestor, still echoing through the changed landscape? Water has always been both magical and dangerous. The raging river and its demonic occupants, the stormy sea full of mermaids, witches, and even the kraken. But just because canals are man-made, they're no less likely to be home to ghosts. The people who have died building them, travelling on them, walking through their dark, enclosed tunnels, jumping or falling or being thrown from their bridges must have left something behind, of their tragedy, grief, fear and despair. What form those echoed emotions then take isn't something I can answer. But along the waterways, where the boundaries between worlds seem thinner, a spectral monkey isn't any more unlikely than a Bigfoot roaming Cannock Chase. For now, let's return to our boat, get the engine warmed up, move off, and enjoy some more cruising along the Shroppie. After all, there's nothing to be afraid of, is there?